Summer is a great time to get to the theater. You pay $57 for a couple tickets and stuff in your face with a tub of popcorn. Maybe you're like us, you don't know what to spend the entirety of your recent paycheck on. Well, fortunately for baseball fans, new options abound in the theaters. Here are some titles for you to look for at the theater near you.
Make sure you check out Box Office Darling, Inside Out 2, Aaron Boone versus the Umpires. And when you're done with that, check out Kung Fu Panda 4, the 2024 Kansas City Royals. Just make a lot of noise and they'll forget we're bad.
If you're in the mood for some 1990s throwbacks, it's Twisters, the true story of the Colorado Rockies rebuild, or find yourself in a seat watching Bad Boys, the Chicago White Sox tragedy.
Or take in Thriller, A Quiet Place, Day 1 in Oakland. And you may also want to catch action film Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim of Orange County of California of the United States.
On the animated side, you may check out the Garfield movie, or subtitle, The Javier Baez Years in Detroit. And or Imaginary Friend, the Seattle Mariners, and the World Series. Some great titles to check out. Hope you make it to the theater and find a great movie that fits you. This week, we're bringing something new. Fantasy baseball is on hold for us as we take a vacation. We're actually recording this in early July. So we're making some predictions this week about both our fantasy baseball teams as well as where we think things are going to stand when we get back into our fantasy baseball at the beginning of August. So, Adam, what items are we going to make some predictions on and see who comes out the winner?
We've got a few different areas. We've got All-Star Game winner, All-Star Game MVP. We're going to make predictions on the division leaders. And then for our fantasy teams, the batter and pitcher who will score the most points throughout the majority of July.
Well, why don't we start with our fantasy teams? I'll start with mine. My batter, who I think is going to have the most points, Gunnar Henderson. And on my pitching side, I'm going to take Zach Wheeler here. Starting pitcher, he's had a little bit of a down month here recently, but I'm thinking he's going to pick it back up. I think he's going to end July with the most points.
And for me, for my batter, it comes down to Freddie Freeman or Juan Soto, both in great lineups.
Mm-hmm.
Teams doing well, but I'm going to give the edge to Soto here. I think he's really going to heat up. He's left-handed hitter, hitting the right field in Yankee Stadium. So that's where I'm putting the prediction from the pitching standpoint. I'm going the back end, bullpen, Emmanuel Clase of Cleveland Guardians. I think they're going to be making a run, and they're going to have to win a lot of close games, and he's going to be right there. He's been huge all year. He's going to keep doing it.
So those are great predictions. So we'll see if any of ours come to fruition there. And let's switch over a little bit. Let's talk All-Star Game. It's coming up here in just over 10 days. And so let's see if we can make some predictions. Adam, who do you have American League, National League winning the All-Star Game?
Well, it was a lot of fun last year when you and I went to the game. NL won for the first time in like 11 tries. I think their win streak ends at 1.
Okay.
And it goes back to the AL.
Yeah, I mean, the AL roster is stacked. However, last year's AL roster was was also stacked. I don't know. The NL was a little stronger, but it wasn't really the starters who did all the damage for the NL. It was Elias Diaz of my lowly Colorado Rockies who came away with MVP honors. I'm going to go with an upset. I'll go NL. I think he has some pitching to deal with there, and I just think they're going to put it together. You got a bunch of Dodgers there. Shohei by himself could win this game without even anybody even playing defense for the NL. So I'm going to go NL, riding Shohei Otani all the way. And I might as well transition, and I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm going to go Shohei Otani, All-Star Game MVP last year. Not a great showing in the All-Star Game. I think he's on the redemption tour. I think he wins the All-Star Game MVP for the NL.
My All Star Game MVP, breakout season, Gunnar Henderson, sort of a la King Griffey Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Early career All Star Game MVP to launch that trajectory. Gunnar Henderson.
All right, with All-Star Game predictions out of the way, let's talk about what we see happening in the playoff picture. We still got a lot of time left for things to move around. But right now, we've got in the American League East, Orioles with a 3-game lead over the Yankees. Um, Adam, what do you think is going to happen in the AL East?
I'm predicting the Yankees overtake the Orioles by the end of July.
Okay. I don't see that happening. I think the Orioles are going to the Yankees are struggling in the early going in July. I think the Orioles are going to add some distance. I think the Yankees could close the gap, but I see the Orioles still sitting on top when we close out July. Um, in the Central, I don't see any movement here. Guardians sitting up top. I don't think the Twins are going to close 6 games in that time. The American League West. Well, let me uh, go back here, Adam. Central. Do you have any differing opinions?
I think the White Sox are poised to make a run. They're
Mm-hmm.
only 30 back. No, of
So,
course not. The Guardians are in firm position. They're the best team in this division. They're not going anywhere.
yeah. And then in the American League West, Mariners hold a 2-game edge over Houston. Houston's been hot. Seattle's been cold. What are you seeing happening in July?
Sadly, Houston's going to take over first place. And what I'm worried about is by the end of July, it's going to be a 10-game lead.
Mm, that could happen. I'm circling on the calendar July 19th through 21st. Houston's in Seattle for a 3-game set. I honestly think that's going to tell the story for how the rest of this year could play out. I'm going to go on a limb, even though I'm down on my Mariners right now. I'm going to say the Mariners win that series. And I'm going to say it puts them in a position where they're not going to run away with the West by any means, but I think they're going to stay in first place, maybe by a slim margin, at the end of July.
All right. Well, let's talk AL wildcard then.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of teams pretty close up top. Right now, you got the Yankees with a comfortable lead, and then Twins, Red Sox, Royals, Astros are all pretty tight right there. So, what are you looking at with the wild card?
The wild card, this is interesting because Boston's been hot. I don't really expect them to keep this going, if that makes sense. I what I think I still keep thinking the Twins are going to fall out of this thing a little bit. I mean, not fall out of it, but fall back a little bit. Um, I would think that what I would see happening here at the end of July is that the Astros / Mariners, but since I picked the Mariners to be ahead in the West, I bet the Astros going to move ahead of both the Royals and the Red Sox. Maybe sit like 1 to 2 games firmly, or into that third spot. I could see even Houston. You know what? I'm going to even go further. I'm going to go Houston jumps into the number 2 wild card spot and pushes the Twins into the third wild card spot.
And since I'm picking the Yankees at the top of the East, the Orioles are going to be at the top of the wild card. And then the Astros, Twins, Red Sox, and Royals are going to be trading spots throughout the month of July.
Though you picked the Astros to be on top in the West,
That's
so are you going
that's
Mar-
true. Well, I think the Mariners are going to fade. So the Twins, Red Sox, and Royals are going to kind of be just in the same 3 spots, just switching between each other.
Okay, so I need you to go out on a limb here. And who's going to be in the second and third spot?
Okay, let's pick a number between 1 and 3. Let's go with the Red Sox 2, Royals 3.
Okay, so you think the Twins are gonna be losing some ground here? That's a bold call. Well, let's shift gears. Let's talk NL. Um, the NL races are not particularly interesting right now. If we start in the East, Phillies 10 games up on Atlanta. Maybe let's not predict if the Braves are gonna be in first place, but are they gonna close the gap meaningfully?
Meaningfully, no. I mean, closing the gap meaningfully would be like they pick up like 5 or 6
Like,
games. I don't think that's
mhm.
going to happen.
Okay, so no, so if we said with the over under or whatever at like 4 5 or 5 game, picking up 5 games, you're saying no.
Yeah, I'm picking the under on that one.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, Braves have a type of roster they can make a run, but they're only 8 games over 500 right now, so I'll say no on that as well. Phillies, yeah, Brewers and Cardinals in the Central. Cardinals are trying to make a run here, but the Brewers are 15 over 500. Do you see this gap closing at all? Say by 2 or 3 games, 3 games.
I don't. I see the Cardinals fading.
Mm-hmm.
They're an aging team. They're not that good. Their run differential's minus 36.
Mm-hmm.
So um, the Brewers are a solid team. They're getting Devin Williams back right after the break, hopefully. Um, and I think the Brewers pull away and stretch it to 7 or 8 by the end of July.
Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis. I don't see the Cardinals getting much closer, honestly. So I think they'll be in that same. I think if they're 5 back by the end of July, I think they've had a great month. That's what I would
Yeah.
say. So, all right. And in the West, we've got Dodgers up 6.5 on the Padres. Um, quite a bit of distance there. What do you think there? Do we have any movement that you're thinking you're going to see?
Not meaningful movement, that's for sure. I mean, the Dodgers are too good. The offense is too potent. There's just nothing's going to happen there.
Yeah, I tend to think the same thing. One thing I wanted to look at here was look at the Padres schedule because they've tended to play the the Dodgers in particular really well, and so if they get some head to heads here in July, and they do at the end of July, they got some head to head. They got some really tough matchups. Guardians, Orioles, Dodgers, Mariners, Braves. Whew, boy, they got a tough stretch here in July. I'm going to say just that was the only team I checked the schedule on, by the way. But I'll go. I think this is going to stay the same, maybe even widen to 8 or 10 by the end of July.
Yeah.
So now the NL wild card is has been the last couple years. Um, Very interesting, in particular, usually that last wild card spot. Right now, you've got a little separation, 3 games back out of the third wild card spot, but the first spot to the Atlanta Braves is just 1.5 up. So, how do you see that unfolding here with these very mediocre teams?
Uh, Similar to my feelings about the wild card in the AL, where they're just going to be trading spots a little bit. But I'm a little bit of a homer on the
Hmm.
Arizona Diamondbacks. I see them as better teams than the Giants and Cardinals, and possibly even the Padres at times. And they've got Merrill Kelly injured, who's coming back soon. Eduardo Rodriguez coming back soon. Maybe Jordan Montgomery will pull it together at some point. If they get some solid starting pitching, they got a pretty good lineup. I could see the Diamondbacks by the end of July moving up into the third spot. I think the Braves will hold on to the first, and we'll leave the Padres at 2 for right now.
Okay, okay, that's interesting there. I like where you're thinking. I like the Diamondbacks as well. Their offense is coming together. Um, I'm actually going to go with the Padres, even though they got a tough schedule. They got Braves head to head. I'm going to go Padres sitting at the top of the NL wild card at the end of July. Braves sitting 2, and I'm going to say the Cardinals do enough. I don't see the Cardinals making the playoffs. But I'm going to say they do enough to be in that third spot. They got 3 game lead over the Giants, and that can go quickly. But I'm going to go Cardinals sitting in the third spot at the end of July. But I do think that we'll see some tightening. I think the Giants, Diamondbacks, maybe the Mets. The Reds have a tendency to get hot. I don't think they have the pitching to sustain that for an extended period of time. I could I anticipate seeing overall that getting squished together here in the end of July.
Yeah, it'll be a fun race to watch, certainly better than the division matchups.
Yes, yeah, it has been where it's been this way, where it's like you see one, maybe 2 divisions that really have any intrigue whatsoever, um, and it's just how it is. And then you see a lot of jockeying in the wild card, a lot of nice fun races coming down to. I think this is what you get some complaints about there's too many playoff teams and whatnot, but I think this is something that the fans want to see. They want to see their team in it longer, and they want to see jockeying for playoff position late in the season, coming down to that last week of games. Makes it interesting, makes it fun, and I think we're right in it.
Yeah, when we get to the end of July, there's going to be a lot of excitement for those last couple months coming
Hmm.
in.
All right. Well, this is bit longer than our regular show. Thanks for hanging with us. We do some predictions. We'll come back in August here, well, next week, and we'll report on our predictions and how we did, and see which one of between Adam and I who came out ahead there. So, thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you next week.